Welcome to the syllabus lecture for Engineering 305 with Professor Tubergen. I usually find this to be a relatively boring lecture, just a bunch of rules and stuff that we've all seen before. But yet it's very important, so I don't want to skip it. So I think this video format's a great way to cover that, allow you to see it anytime you want, watch it double time speed, whatever. It will be right here. Right now, this is Syllabus 2020. That's because I'm currently recording this year's video. So once I'm done, I'll replace it. It'll go there. This is under the administrative information, and we're going to click on Syllabus 2021, and it will come up with this page. Engineering 305, Section A, Mechanics and Materials. This is Rev 2. Actually, it's probably closer to Rev 3, but it's still calling it Rev 2. It's what I saved it as. What this course, the goal for the course is to apply the principles of mechanics to the solution of problems in stress and strain of engineering materials. We're going to extend what we do in statics and dynamics to things that now deform. One of the key assumptions in statics and dynamics was that things are rigid, and we're throwing that assumption out, saying now they can bend. So our learning outcomes, this is a partial list. There's actually another document with a whole long list of learning objectives. This is the short list, and that is, one, you're going to be able to solve basic stress and strain problems, and two, you're going to be able to calculate deformations due to applied loads. That's actually a big chunk of the class. Stresses and strains for a loading situation, and, well, stresses and strains are deformation. So total deformation is, I guess, what point 2 is. So that's the big part of the class, identifying the loading situation that we're looking at, and then punching the numbers into the equations to solve for stresses to see if things break, or strain to see if they move too much. We're going to use that knowledge to solve design problems. We are going to be able to measure strain or deflection and interpret results. And then we're also going to learn a little bit about FEA. Now, some of you might have seen FEA in some other classes, or in some people show it off in 181, but we're going to start using that as a tool to do stresses and strains and deflections, like we're talking about in items 1 and 2. Not only will we do it by hand calculations, but we'll use the computer. And then we'll also, for me, I want to be able to look at both of those together and say, do they make sense? There are also some larger themes that I'm going to be looking at in the class that I'm going to try to teach you, expose you to, and I think they are as important as the material, but they're just at a very high level, and I can't test you on them, but I can tell you what those are, and that is, engineering formulas are just a model or a metaphor for how we look at the world and how we think about how it works. It doesn't actually work that way, but that's our best explanation of it. So, and that's kind of, you're going to go, oh, yeah, we'll have equations, and they're the best way that we can solve a problem, but they're just giving us an approximation. So, assumptions allow us to view the world with simpler and simpler metaphors. Okay? That is, the more assumptions we make, the equations get easier, the metaphors get simpler. They fail more, but that they get easier and easier. Third thing, real problems. People say, oh, this is a textbook problem, this is a real problem. Real problems are not any better or worse than textbook problems. In the textbook, what we were going to look at this year, the problems have already come to us with a number of assumptions. And what that allows is, it allows all the students, everybody in the class, that we can all start at the same starting point, and so that we get to the same ending point, we can compare our answers, and we can know whether we did the problem correctly or not from a math perspective. But those assumptions aren't necessarily good or bad, or we don't know what they are, but they're just assumptions. And then the last thing is that understanding how to make a good assumption is really a lifelong battle. As we start looking at what I'm going to say real problems, we have to make we can't solve the real problem, so we have to start making assumptions. And making good assumptions is a lifelong battle that we have to continue to struggle on how to make better and better, better assumptions. So the course flow and structure, based on a new teaching model that Fred Hahn and I introduced last year, I've adopted more tests and quizzes than I would have given 5 years ago. 5 years ago, it would have been 2 tests and a final. That's not what I'm doing this year. We're going to see tests not every week, but many weeks. I think we have about 10 tests over the course of the semester. Some of them are larger and smaller, so we might call some of those tests quizzes. Smaller, they'll be worth less points. Some of them are larger, we'll take the full class period. Some of them are just going to be 20 minutes, single question, maybe 2, maybe some definitions, but they'll be smaller in scale. And the reason we're doing that is the feedback from students is that by doing that, it lowered their anxiety. Now, last year I had a lot more. I had 2 tests essentially every week, a quiz and a test. But it just decreased the amount of class time that I had available to lecture and to solve problems. So I don't want to go that route. So we're going to try to find some happy middle ground this year. The schedule, next point, the schedule is contained in a separate file. There's a lot of detail to it, and it changes. And so I've got that in a separate file. And I will adjust that as we go through the semester, because some topics we'll wind up getting off the subject, or we'll find a really good example problem, or something else will happen that we want to talk about, and it may adjust our schedule. So it's in a separate file, and you'll see that in Moodle, and we'll go through that. What I do know is the final exam will be Wednesday, December 15 at 9 a.m. We have that in front of us. So we're done at noon on the 15th of December. There you go. The book that we've got is Mechanics and Materials. I got one handy. The Riley 6th edition looks like that. All right. We'll also be using FEA, either in Inventor or SolidWorks, depending on what you feel more comfortable with. One factor in your decision may be that Autodesk Inventor is free, so that's a good thing. Everybody wants to know about scores and grades, so homework is 15% of the grade, tests are 50% of the grade, the labs and computer assignments are 20% of the grade, final exam for 15%, and then I always leave myself room to adjust your score up or down by 5%. What you might think of that is there is a fixed score, there is a set score that you think about, and it's posted in Moodle that a 93 is an A, and a 90 is an A minus, above a 90 is an A minus, and that's not necessarily the scale that I use. There is some curving if you want to use that, but that curving is not only affects everyone, but it also affects individuals, some more than others. So yeah, you do an awesome job. Participate in class. Absolutely, your score. It does affect your score. It does affect. It also affects your knowledge of the material as well. So I will encourage classroom interaction and classroom participation to help everyone. So course policies. This is kind of here's the big heart and meat of the rules that are maybe unique to me, but that you need to be aware of to be successful in the course. And that is, first, all homework must be able to stand on its own. Most of the homework can follow a common process of describing the process, providing a sketch with the key data, listing any observed relationships, probably doing some algebra, and then finally a solution which should be boxed for clarity. That is, that's the important part in one sense. The process is the important part. As we're students, as we're learning, the process is the important part, not the answer. So I want to see all of the process, not just the answer. In that way, each homework problem should be telling a self-contained story. And getting used to telling that story will help us in the future better communicate what we've done. That helps us that will help you on tests, because if you want partial credit, you have to do that partial work. You have to show me, you have to tell me a story. And some of you will put all kinds of information on a page in a random presentation and then go, yeah, but this is over here, but it's not part of the story. It's just a fact hanging over there. The story and the process are what's important. And so get to a position where you're used to and understand how you're telling a story with solving the problem. As an aid, and I'll take this off to the side here. As an aid to that, I've got how to write up a homework problem. And there's an entire document that says Engineering 305 homework problem. And I think you need a problem statement, given, sketch, observe relationships, assumption, resolution, answer. And I walk through that. So if you don't recall this this is taught in Engineering 101 and it's taught in 202 and I'm revisiting it here, please go through this document and refresh yourself on what a good problem solution looks like. So if you need more help on that, come and talk to me. Reading and video assignments are listed in the live calendar in Moodle. Actually, yes, there is a calendar. The calendar will be posted in Moodle. It's already there, and it may be updated. But there are reading assignments and there are video not assignments. The videos are optional. I want to run this like a normal class, like videos aren't there. But I have videos, so if you want to watch them, I'm making them available. So I'm telling you what video goes with what part of the class. Nothing's going to be posted with less than a 2-day turnaround time. That's my kind of guarantee to you. But at the same time, we'll take a look at that. If we look at Moodle, here's the August and September deliverables. And you can see there's every assignment due through August and September. End of September, you got to do Riley Chapter 5, problems 118 and 126. Those are due on the 29th, and this is where you submit it. There'll be quizzes on September 10, 17. There's a test on September 30th. So there you go. Our first 5 weeks, we got 3 tests. It's kind of keeping in that strategy. Those are all the deliverables for that month. Now there's another calendar I didn't show you that has the readings that go along with that and the videos that may help you out with that. And there's quite a bit of that material as well. Tests are given each Friday. Oh, see, that's not true anymore. I'm going to have to vary that. You know what? Let's pause this video. We'll update the document and then we'll come back. There, miracle of television. Tests or quizzes are given frequently and may vary in format. There, that's a much better statement. They will closely follow the homework, but also have additional elements for flexing memory muscle. These may include fill in the blank, multiple choice, problems which require a solution, or even essays to explain what you have done. They may be open or closed book. Here's one that might be scary for some of you, but I think when you see it, you'll go, oh, that's pretty cool. The final exam will be closed book. The questions posed will be similar to the tests, quizzes, and homework. Some questions may include a physical situation which will require you be able. Some questions, you know what? Maybe we have to pause the video again. Hold on. Sorry, I just had to read through that 3 times. So it's right. Some questions may include a physical situation which will require that you be able to identify which failure mode is important and be able to do the appropriate analysis. And I'm not going to explain that more than that. You will be able to bring in the formula sheet which is provided. A copy is in the administrative section of Moodle. Here's what I do want to take a time out or step aside to show you this. Here is the study guide, which this is, ding. These are all the equations that we're going to need to know throughout this course. Chapter 1, 2, 3, here's 4. We'll explain all this stuff later. 5, here's 6 on torsion. All of this stuff is here, and that's what you're going to need to know when you get to the final exam. I've given that to you already, day 1, or it's Friday before day 1. This is day -3. so that you know what you need to know when you get to the final. And I hope then that, again, you start using that sheet maybe at the beginning, become more and more familiar with it as the course goes on, and realize that's all I need to know. There's 10 pages there. We can do that in our sleep. So, yeah, I've tried to make the expectations very clear. Um, Tests, open or closed book. Questions will be similar. Some questions may include a physical situation. Right, right. And we covered that. Last item, your personal investment, class participation in this class will be a key contributor to your success in the other areas of grading, but it will also be used separately as a grading criteria. This category will capture some tangibles like attendance and tardiness, as well as contribution to discussion and class learning or the environment. There are a lot of ways that you can be a distraction in class or be beneficial to the class and the learning environment. And how you choose to do that will affect your grade. So, class policies. I will make reasonable accommodations for persons with documented disabilities. Students should notify the coordinator for students services to students with disabilities located in the Student Academic Services Office. This is the Center for Student Success. Maybe they've changed the title, or maybe that's the old title. I would love if you would, I'm going to require that you reach out to me within the first couple weeks in order to make sure that proper accommodation is made. I want to behave, all of us I hope want to behave at all times as professionals and respect the unique way in which God has made us. So some people, and I don't want to single anyone out, right, and make you go, oh, no, he's calling me out. Some of you may have certified things, and you're going to come to me with a document and go, yep, I need help, I need additional testing time, I need additional. But if you have other things that are part of the unique way that God made you, for example, maybe you've got trouble with your eyesight, and it works better if you sit in the front row, or it works better if you sit in the back row. That would be interesting to me too. But or you've got trouble hearing, or you've got, and it's not a disability, it's just these are preferences, and they may not help you physically, maybe they help you psychologically, maybe they, let me know and we'll accommodate, we'll work with. I want to make this environment as friendly as possible. So if there are things that are preferences that don't rise to the level of a disability that I can help you with, let me know. I would love to work with you on that. By helping you, I'm sure that there will be other people in the class. We always say that, right? If you have the question, somebody else also has that question. If I can accommodate you, then that will probably help someone else as well. So, technology in class will be tolerated up to the point that it's disruptive. What does that mean? Well, there will be times, I don't know what's going on in your life, and if you need to take a phone call for whatever reason, and I'm not going to judge what that reason is, you need to be able to take that phone call, and that is not something that I am necessarily opposed to. Now, I will tell you this, I am opposed to you being disruptive. So if you take the phone call in class and have a conversation about your meal last night, not professional, disruptive, all those things. If you need to take a phone call, yep, you answer it, hey, excuse me 1 second, you step out of the classroom, you grab your phone call. That happens in meetings all the time. It happens because our lives are complex, and I understand that. This class, while I'd love it to be the biggest priority in your life for the whole semester, realistically, it might be thermo. For some of you, it will be. For some of you, it will be my class. Some of you, it will be thermo. And I understand that. There may be personal situations, though, that have to be dealt with also. So I understand that. And I want to let you know that there are allowances for that, that there's not, it's okay. I don't tolerate dishonesty, however. Dishonesty, I'm trying to train you for a profession of engineers. And if you look at part of being a professional engineer, one of the biggest aspects of professional engineering, since the topic is so broad. But for everyone, the topic of integrity and what it means to be, what integrity means and what ethics mean within engineering is very, very important. And so if you lack that skill, then I really don't know that the training is on the technical side is going to help you out, because the ethical side trumps the technical side. So if we can't overcome that, so all of you have signed the AHIP policy. I don't expect any issues, but I just want to, I do want to stress that, even for those of you, I mean, for all of you for whom integrity and ethics aren't going to be an issue, I just want to stress that this is a basic workplace thing, and mastering it, or I hope your parents have you and have taught you how to master this. So, having said that, here's integrity, do your own work. Well, that isn't what I said, to do your own work. Integrity is what I said, and so there is a lot of field within engineering for collaborative work. I really do consider engineering to be a team skill. And so I want you to work with others. I want you to seek the counsel of friends and groups of friends when solving the homework problems. If biblically, we say a cord of 3 strands is not easily broken. That's hopefully I don't give you homework problems that break you, but if there's 3 of you, that would be even harder for me to do. So the benefit of working with friends is that if one of you is making a dumb mistake, like the sign of an angle is not what it's supposed to be, I can't even say it's not opposite over J, yeah, sign of an angle, opposite over adjacent. No, that's tangent. Well, if you're making that stupid mistake, it can cost you a half hour or an hour before you find that, because you just wrote it down, you thought it was right, and it's not. A friend who's working alongside you can go, what are you doing? That's not, no, come on, let's clean that up, and then we can make progress. And so I want you to learn. I want the learning to be efficient. So I would actually, I really want to encourage that. So I also would say, don't seek out problems, don't seek out answers to problems from previous years or via the internet or other solution techniques. Copying things is not solving them. Copying things is a whole other skill, and it can promote some learning. I'm not saying that there isn't an education. If you worked hundreds of problems or copied hundreds of problems, you would see the strategy that gets employed over and over and over, and that could be beneficial. That's not what we're about in this class. We're going to be about solving problems. And that means that you've got to think through the steps and internalize those and make those your own. So the tests are going to be similar to the homework. So understanding the solution method is what you really need to get. And so, but working together as a team to solve it, not copy it, to solve it, will help you understand the methods, the methodology of solving it, and do well. Now, that concept of working together is something that comes from the computer software field called extreme programming, and those concepts don't apply to tests. Tests are, you're going to stand up on your own and do that on your own. So I know what your strengths are. Tests are going to be used to assess your individual mastery of the topics. That's why, in some ways, the homework score is lower than I'd like it to be, or the percentage of your final grade is lower than maybe I would like it to be, but I also am assuming that you're working with others, so some of that score should go to some other people, and so on, and that's fine. Tests are probably the only thing where I would say work on that all by yourself. For the homework, for the labs, for the FEA, I want to encourage you to be working with other people. And I will say too, when you turn in your homework, we should probably start putting their name on the homework too, in terms of a little byline down at the bottom with assistance from, so that I know who your team is. so that I know who is working together, and so that if I see answers, if I see things that are really close, I go, oh yeah, those they work together. So um, this is a section. This is a section starting here, starting at student professionalism, that's copied from all of the not all of the university, all of the department uses this language to make sure that we understand each other. And it says, what are some of the things that we can do and what are the things that we can't do. So the following table provides examples of academic dishonesty. So if you're in class taking a test or a final exam and you're using the internet, yeah, that's a bad thing. Using a cell phone or another communication device, bad thing. And you've seen these tables. There are some sorry, I'm seeing this and I don't like that statement since I just said the opposite. So these are statements that you've seen from other classes though also. So that sentence is going away. You can discuss the assignment with any other student, past or present. I don't want you copying, and I don't want you utilizing a textbook solution. So that line there should not be there, and it won't be there in just a second. See, I told you, it's gone. Yeah, you can work with others. You should work with others. So, and these continue. Penalty for dishonesty, 0. For the first occurrence, an F for the course grade at the second time. Yeah, enough said on that one. The department, in addition to everything that I've talked about, the department and university have several policies which also apply to you and your conduct in and out of the class. And for more clarity, you may want to review the safe spaces policy, the professional policy for engineering, for the engineering department, and the academic honesty and integrity policy for the engineering department. So, last thing, I think this is the last thing. Contact out of class. Feel free to contact me out of class. You can do this a lot of different ways, and what I'm finding is working somewhat well is Teams is honestly working pretty well. I may not be in a position where I'm set up that I have all of my resources available, but I might be able to take a call via Teams. I will also deny a lot of phone calls because I have a pretty busy schedule, and I can't. Same way you can't. The personal calls in class, not a good thing. When I'm in a meeting with other people, I may not be in a position where I can take your call. That may not be appropriate because I'm not expecting that it's an emergency that would force me to take your call and interrupt something else that I'm doing. So, but email, then, the best way probably to reach me is email. I will try to get back to you as quickly as possible. I do receive your email on my phone, and so I get it all over. And then you may get some very curt responses, short responses, because it's not easy for me to type a long diatribe back, nor is it easy for me to solve 305 problems on my phone and send it back to you. So the phone is listed as number 2, but I'm going to say maybe you get rid of phone and you put in Teams, because here's what happens. If you call phone number up here at the top, 526-7313, you're going to leave a message. I don't even know, I have a headset, which is a phone. It doesn't even, doesn't consistently ring because I have to have certain software on to get that to work. So you might as well just try by Teams, sending me a chat, sending me a quick voicemail, sending me something in Teams, probably better. I will be setting up office hours. Usually I wait for about a week or 2 to figure out what works for students and what schedules are and what I'm doing. I think that's the easiest way to have a conversation is if we're sitting next to each other. I kind of do that via Teams, but I can't read your body language for when things are getting hard or things are getting challenging. So, in addition to office hours, there's appointments. And last, you can always stop by. I am right across from 128, and yeah, we can chat almost any time. This actually is the last thing. I thought the previous thing was the last thing. It wasn't, and that is special 20 for 21 COVID disclaimer. Last year it said, hey, big issue's COVID. Everybody thinks we know what's going on and everything's going to run like normal. And clearly that was not the case last year either. Between the quarantines and. So, last year there was a lot of grace to get things done on time, and that created all kinds of problems in Moodle. Yep. I don't know. So for 2021, I'm going to honestly come back with, I don't know if we're in a much different place. As I write this, the Delta variant is going crazy in Israel, where they are 80% vaccinated. I don't know what that means for us. There's all kinds of reports out saying that masks are not really effective yet. We're going to wear masks to class. So I don't know how things are going to change. I'm assuming, like I did last year, things are going to be mostly normal. That masks are going to go away. We're going to take another step back. But I don't know that that's the case. And I don't want you to worry about that. Regardless of what happens, my goal is that you grow in your faith and learn this material. First, grow in your faith, and then learn this material. Third, that you learn thermo, but that's third. If you want to, we will find a path together to make this happen. Now, that's a loaded sentence. First, if you want to. There are always going to be the exception to the rule that some people are just trying to coast through, and with COVID, and that became very hard. And so if you weren't willing to work for it, if you don't want to, I won't necessarily be able to help you. But we can find a path that gets us through this, regardless of what we're handed, regardless of what COVID, or I'm going to say, well, anything else hands us. We can work together to find a path through that. I'm confident of that. So that is the last thing on the syllabus. Long video. Anyway, but it's not done, because I want to go back to this and say, look, I've already pulled this up and I talked about the study guide, which was, nope, not that one. Here's the study guide with all this stuff in it. Another document that's there is this course learning objectives, and that I opened up and put here. 305, learning objectives. Here's the interesting thing about this document, that prior to taking the class, I only want you to know 5 things. Now, they're kind of loaded. It's essentially, I want you to know statics and dynamics. And trig. Trig here, you got to apply trig to situations. But then the new material, which is by the end of this course, the students will be able to, and I'm not going to go through the list, but there's only 25 things. That means you just have to learn one thing every other day in this class, and you'll be all set. One thing every other day. Some days we're going to cover 3. Some topics, some of these objectives are going to take 3 and 4 days. But it's only 25 things. So that's good. And you can look through that and you can see how we work our way through this as well. Next thing, so learning objective, study guide, how to write up a homework problem. Yep. And then this one that you really want to know about, the hints for homework. I haven't opened it up. It's not actually hints for homework. It's the answers. But it's not necessarily the answer. It is a number that if you do the problem and you get it right, you might recognize that number from something. Okay? It's not always the answer that you're going to box at the bottom of the page. Sometimes it is, sometimes it doesn't make sense to do that. But I have gone through the homework that's going to be required and I've laid it all out. So if you want to look, essentially here's the homework that you should expect as well. Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah. There's labs and some other things that aren't on here, but those are the answers. That way, if you get to because I find it Well, when I was a student, we would work the problem and then we would look in the back of the book and go, wow, did we get it right or not? But if you just work a problem and you have no idea, it's not very rewarding, because maybe you got it wrong and you don't know. Or maybe you got it right and you don't know. But if you got it wrong and you go, oh, okay, or I don't get what matches up with it, what's on the back of the book, then I can go back through my problem and I go, oh yeah, here was a stupid mistake. And you can correct that and you go, oh, now I've got the answer that they had in the back. So I think this is important. I think this is an important tool that I'm giving you that the textbook resources are not. So, and this also keeps you from going out to internet to looking up solutions, because because you've got, once you solved it, use the right process, you got it, you're done. So it keeps you from going and hunting and putting you in a spot where you might be tempted to copy as opposed to actually solve the problem. Now, another point on this is called homework hints. This is not the solution. The solution is the entire story, which goes back to this document, how to write up a homework problem. So you should not expect, if you expect partial credit on tests, you should not expect to get full credit for the answer. Partial credit comes when I go, yeah, look, you got some of the assumptions and some of the observed relationships correct, right? That's how you think that we earn partial credit. Well, just because you have the answer doesn't mean you understand the observed relationships or the assumptions or how to solve the problem. So if you want partial credit, you have to write up a whole problem statement, a whole problem story as your solution. If you don't want partial credit, if it's an all or nothing, then maybe we can talk and you can just say, throughout the course, I will just give you the answer and you give me full credit or not. Okay, we can talk about that. I don't think anybody wants that, but anyway, not asking a lot, I don't think. Or maybe I am, and you're going to have to rise up and meet the challenge. So, there we go. There are a couple more documents that are going to be added to this between this afternoon and my syllabus lecture is going to be updated. But, and these are actually lectures here. Those are videos that you can watch on this, on the homework format or on the learning objectives and study guide. So, and there will be more videos added and available, and there will be the calendar, which is going to get posted, which is actually an Excel spreadsheet with multiple pages of information on it. And we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that in class, which probably you've already seen that before you see this. So I hope you're doing well. I'll see you in class.